Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast, where we identify God's uncommon work in common life. Recognizing God's work requires intentionality, but articulating it motivates and inspires. Don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. In today's episode, I have a conversation with Opal Koresko, where she shares about her life and the hard work that she displays, but also the gifting of service that Jesus has put on her heart and how she impacts others for Jesus through her service. So let's get into the conversation with Opal. Opal, thank you for taking time to be with us today and share a little bit about your story. So thank you for being here today. As we begin, can you share a little bit about your life, growing up, siblings, any church background, those types of things?
Well, I was born at home, and then after that we moved across the road, and then we moved over here in 48, and I got 7 brothers, no sisters. Life was fun. And we helped Dad with farming when we got older, and I cooked over home for Mom, and so life has been good over there.
So 7 brothers?
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about some of your adventures, I guess?
Well, one day we thought we was going to go to Pella, and so we got in a car on Sunday and after church, and we never ever made it to Pella. I guess Dad got lost, I don't know. But we come home, good sightseeing. Went to church in Salem. Almost generally all my life when those kids was growing up. Then I went to work, and we worked on Sunday, and so that done that. But Mom and Dad continued to go to church.
So you grew up going to church
Yeah.
In Salem
Mhm.
Most every Sunday.
Yeah.
And
Then we had Christian Endeavor in the evening on Sunday, and so we went to it. And that's just about all.
so one of the questions I have for you is, what is something about you that most people don't know? I didn't know you had 7 brothers. So is there anything else? Is there something about you that's a fun fact about Opal that most people don't know?
Yeah, I was never going to get married. Never.
And how long have you and Keith been married now?
We'll be 18 years.
Yeah. So that's it's funny how life can change. How we have lots of this is what we want, but then other things come along and change our mind. So I'm sure you have a ton of stories with 7 brothers. You're not the youngest, are you?
No, I'm second to the oldest.
Okay. So you have 6 younger brothers.
Yeah.
And one man, yeah. That's a lot of rowdiness, I'm sure, with that situation. But what are some of the jobs that you have had throughout your life?
Well, when I got out of high school, Dad says you kids is out of school, so it's time to get a job. So I got a job in the neighborhood helping an older lady. And then she moved away. Then I went to Metro Mail and worked 41 and a half years. Retired from there.
Tell us what that is.
Direct mail advertising, junk mail rather.
Yeah.
So then from then, I loafed here at home for a while, and so I thought, well, this ain't gonna pay bills with me not working and having an income. So then I went over to Danville Care Center. Karen Orton got me on. I went over there and I did laundry and housekeeping. And then I got kind of fed up with the boss, and I thought, this is it. So I quit. Then I went into the workforce and temps, and they got me on at Legacy. So that's where I am now.
And what is Legacy?
It's another direct mail advertising.
Do you think you were qualified for that position after 41 years?
Yeah, because it's the same as I did before.
Yeah. So what exactly do you do?
Run an inserter that puts in coupons and stuff, and they run down a track and in an envelope and seal it, and then you put it in a mail tote.
So there's a machine
Yeah.
that stuffs the envelopes, which whatever is being advertised, and it also seals it.
Yeah,
So you just have to, I assume it puts it in so many envelopes together, and then you just
Yeah.
put it in a box or something.
but you gotta fill the machine with samples, with pamphlets and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So you feed the machine to make sure
Yeah.
it has what it needs to fully stuff the envelopes. So
Yeah.
now, are there any things about your job that so everybody receives junk mail, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone receives that. Anything about your job that people just aren't aware of necessarily or don't think of?
No, but every time they say, "What do you work?" Well, easier to say junk mail. And they say, "Oh, we don't want that." Well,
It keeps the post office alive.
yeah. And I said, "Don't worry about it. I get it. We get it too."
One of the things that I found interesting talking to you about your job in the past is that when your company bids on a job, part of that is they take the mail to that zip code, or
Yeah.
it's not as though they bid on a job in West Virginia and mail it from Iowa. They have to plan for the shipping cost to transport
Yeah.
it closer to the location.
They have semis come in every day, and whenever it's due to go mail, and then they load them, and we got semis coming probably 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah,
They bring stuff in and take stuff out.
that's crazy. Do you guys print your material there, or is it?
Well, we do some.
Okay.
It's a new machine that, they've got rolls of paper probably about yay high, white, and they print. And
Have you, I assume, in the 40 plus years that you've worked in this industry, I assume that you have coordinated mail that you actually received.
yeah,
So I assume that's an interesting, you're seeing both sides of that
Yeah.
process. But
you look through the names and zip codes and addresses, and every once in a while you'll find somebody who's got the same name as your friends. But I have found one that had Karen Plummer, but she was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, so I told Dolores her relation. She laughed.
yeah, that's fun. What are things you enjoy about your job? Anything?
It's different work just about every other week or every other day.
So there's variability. It's not
yeah.
super monotonous, is what you're saying. Yeah. Well, that's fun. It's good to be challenged and to just have diversity with that. Now, as I've gotten to know you, I've seen that you're somebody who you're not afraid to work.
No.
And I mean you're still working. You're not retired. You tried retirement and it wasn't really wasn't working out. But as someone who, why do you value hard work? Why is that something that you're not afraid of?
I guess that's how we grew up as kids. We lived on 80 acres, and Dad did all the hard work, farming and everything the hard way.
So you value hard work because
yeah.
part of it was your work on the farm and
Yeah.
and your parents displayed hard work, but you also learned how to work hard and the value of it as well. So anything about growing up on the farm that you just that you appreciated or really enjoyed?
Yeah, I enjoy the outdoors and being able to go to the field and take lunch out to the guys, and we played a lot around home. I mean, we didn't go Dad didn't take us to movies, and we didn't have ball games, and we're from the country, and you didn't have a way in, and
Yeah, Salem is definitely not a metropolitan area.
no,
It's very, very rural, and so the activities are limited from that standpoint. Now, would you say that throughout your life you can look back and say God has provided?
Yes.
So, as someone who has had to work hard, how do you still say God provided?
Well, I tell you, sometimes things don't go right, and all you need to do is pray about it, and He's there for you. Eventually, it will come.
And I think you really show how the fact God calls us to work.
Yeah.
God's provisions are not permission for us to be lazy, and everybody has different ambitions.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be careful with that, but we can say God provides even if it means we have to work hard.
Yeah.
And do our part. And God's provisions is not everybody gets the same, but God can provide. So working hard is a key piece of that. But why do you think some people might be, I don't know if afraid is the right word, but let's go with it. Why do you think some people are afraid of hard work?
I don't know. I guess they just don't want to work. Like I said, we worked when we was over home, and Dad, I don't know if he insisted or he raised us to work, and so he says you kids have got to make it in the world because he can't. So.
Yeah, and it's we can't speak for everybody, so that was a fairly broad, overarching question. But one of the things I admire about you is you are a hard worker, but there's no resentment or bitterness. And your job is not necessarily an easy job.
No.
And I assume over the years you've had people who just couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
What were some of the do you remember any of the excuses people gave for why they didn't last in the direct mail industry?
Well, they didn't like it, and the hours wasn't what they wanted. But we worked 10-hour days, and a lot of people don't like 10-hour days. They want to go to 8. And I like 10 hours because you're off on Fridays. I mean, you have a whole weekend.
And you work second shift, too.
Yeah.
And so your afternoons and evenings are spent at work on Monday through Thursday. But how do you maintain a good attitude? Even when you have to work hard or others don't appreciate the particular setting that you're in, how do you maintain a good attitude?
Well, I guess my attitude some days ain't too good, but otherwise at work it's okay. Once in a while there is somebody that don't care for what you say or do, but I guess it never changes.
Well, you mentioned that your attitude's not always that great, and everybody has bad days.
Yeah.
And I guess what I was meaning by that is I don't see any resentment in you if you have to work hard.
Mm-mm.
And sometimes we can just moan and groan about that type of stuff of, I've got to do this or I've got to do that, and sometimes that's just life, and we have to just persevere. So as you think about your life, you had mentioned earlier that you didn't plan to get married.
Yep,
and
that's right.
how things change. But when do you plan to retire? Do you have plans yet?
Well, I was going to retire at the end of this year, but I don't know. I might wait until maybe March, and it'll be nice. And
so March of 2024?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really don't have any definite date, but Keith just don't like me to work nights, but I don't want to work days. It's different. So, but he gets along.
So he's got to cook supper for himself, but
Yeah. Oh well, there's always usually something in the icebox for him to eat, and we've had our ups and downs. And
after 18 years, every marriage has
Yeah.
has those types of things. Now, what dreams do you have? So as you think about your opportunities for the rest of your life, do you have any dreams or hopes, or this is what you hope to do?
yeah, stay at home and do nothing.
I
I always dream that when something happens to Keith, I could just eat a peanut butter sandwich for supper and that's it. I don't have to cook, but I don't know.
Well, I personally think that you might get too antsy if you stayed home and did nothing.
Yeah.
Because when there's various ways that you serve the church, particularly with our clothing ministry. You're there almost every month, if not every month, helping, sorting, and just being there. Because so Jesus has given you the desire to work and to be a servant for others. So is serving others something that you're just naturally inclined to do?
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Any particular thing that, like, so you serve in our clothing ministry every Christmas? You give my family this. We should have weighed the box this year. The amount of treats. I mean, it was seemed like it was 20 pounds worth of sugary wonderfulness. But just being a blessing to others is something
Oh, yeah.
that you enjoy, and just is a gifting that Jesus has given you. So
Yeah, I make a lot of fudge and I give Dolores a bunch. She says she can eat it all year. And
I agree with Dolores. So now I like to end with a very overarching question. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today? Anything you feel we missed or we didn't cover that you just wanted to share?
I've had a great big trying time when Keith and I got married, and it was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. No, it was 2 years into the marriage. He wound up in the hospital. Well, he had a blood clot in his lung. And so they couldn't figure out, and then they finally figured out what was going wrong. And so when he went into surgery, and I thought, oh no, can't go through this again. The guy that lived with me before had a blood clot in his lung, and he passed away, and I thought, I can't go through this again, but with God's help, he brought him through it.
Yeah, and Keith was on the podcast a few months ago, and he shared a little bit about his medical situation with the blood clot, and how he shared that only with God's help is he still alive, and very scary time to say the least. But that was just a few years after you and Keith got married, so 15 or so years since then. I mean, you've continued to he's alive and thriving.
Yeah, right.
And so, well, praise the Lord for his work. But
things get kind of ouchy sometimes, but I always tell everybody I think it was God's plan that we got together. I can't think of any other reason why.
Yep.
I'm sure God had something to do with it.
Well, I appreciate you and Keith, and as far as I'm concerned, I think you guys fit together. So, and after almost 2 decades worth of marriage, it's any relationship has ups and downs, but I'm sure there's so many blessings and in your relationship. So, well, I appreciate you taking the time today to share with us, and just share your heart and the way God has used you and continues to use you throughout your life. So thank you for being a guest on our show today.
Over at Clothing Giveaway, it's fun, and some days you wonder. Sometimes you wonder. Whenever Nancy puts on the tapes, they're always church songs. And every once in a while, somebody will come in and say, I don't hear any tapes playing. Well, it's run out. Mm-hmm. So then she'll go over and start it again. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people, and you always wonder, what do they do with all that stuff they take out?
But we're blessing them, and that's
mm-hmm.
And there may be times where people are taking advantage of the free stuff, but I'd say high majority are not.
Yeah.
And even if people are taking advantage of it, that's between them and Jesus.
Yeah, that's right.
We're just working to serve them. So if people haven't checked out Share Blessings, second Saturday of every month, they're at the church, 1015 South Roosevelt Avenue in Burlington, Iowa. Just to come check it out, 8 to 2 on that second Saturday. And it's just a way for us to serve the community and meet needs.
That's right.
And because of people like you and Charlie and Nancy Corns and David and Karen Watterson and others, there's many others that help, but that people like you that make it possible for us to do
There's a lot of people that are in need.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think there was that many that needs clothes and stuff, but there is.
They're out there, and I'm grateful that we can serve them. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being a guest on the show today. We appreciate you, Opal.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for joining us for this podcast. Be on the lookout for how God does uncommon work in common life. And please subscribe to never miss an episode.